Good morning, friends. My name is Sanjeev Kumar. I am Senior Corporate Trainer at Koenig Solutions. For last several years, I am delivering trainings on security products like Checkpoint, Palo Alto, FortiGate, Wireshark, and F5. Today, I am going to discuss about the identity awareness of Checkpoint. To go before to go to the configuration, the better is to understand the concept first. So try to understand why we need this identity awareness. Okay, let's consider that this is the firewall, and the is uh, firewall is protecting a network which holds several computers. So these all computers falls under a network 192.168.1.0. So 1.10, 1.20, 1.25. So similarly, they have several IP of the same range. Now, this is a Active Directory server, and these machines are the clients. Now, generally, without the identity awareness, when a communication starts from the machine and it is ready to go through the firewall, and if firewall allows the packet in the log, firewall is only able to show you the source IP address, destination IP addresses, right? And you don't find any information of the user. Now, with the help of this identity awareness, you are able to understand what users are making what kind of communication. So uh, you have a firewall now. This is the network. Okay. Now, what happens that in the process of identity awareness, you are going to create a connection between Active Directory and your firewall. And through this connection, Checkpoint Firewall will use a method called AD query to know which user is initiating communication. How this goes? Let's understand. If you are aware with Active Directory and its functionality, this thing is pretty much simple for you. Otherwise, you will feel some difficulties. Okay, try to understand that when a user logs into this machine 1.10, it has to provide username and password for authentication, and the given information from that client machine is sent to the Active Directory server for authentication. Active Directory authentication is done with the help of your Active Directory server. So Active Directory server once receive the request and allows the user to log in. Meanwhile, the Active Directory server records the log. In the log, it knows what user in which IP address logs into. So Active Directory server has the information about all the users and all the machines on which the users are logging into. So as the user is successfully allowed to log in to the client machine, and then user from that client machine initiate a communication through the firewall to the internet. But as the packet reaches to the firewall send a query through this integration, Active Directory integration, and asking the name of the IP address the firewall has received the communication from. Now, the Active Directory server takes the IP address and checks the log. It sees a particular user logging into that machine. So the Active Directory server quickly responds with the associated user information. And as the user information is given to the firewall will make a log, and in that log, now apart from source IP address, source user is also mentioned. So this way you came to know that which user from which machine doing what. Hence, it will give you an idea about all those users which are there in your network and making communication outside. So now you can, for the reporting purpose, you can create a report where you can show what user is doing what. But this concept is helped by another concept called captive portal. This captive portal works in that situation when the users are using their mobile devices. You are already aware that mobile devices do not provide any log to the Active Directory server. Hence, through AD query, your firewall will not be able to get the user information. So, in this case, user information is required, and that is provided through another method called captive portal. So your machine will make a request to the firewall to go ahead, but before allowing that communication to outside, the browser redirect the communication to one of the IP address of the firewall, and user will see a captive portal, a kind of web page where username and password is asked. So the user will provide the username and password. This username password must be there in Active Directory database. And then the username and password is received by the firewall. Firewall will validate it through Active Directory server. If Active Directory server says that the password is okay, then user is allowed to access through the firewall, and in the log user information is recorded. Okay, so this is the concept of your identity awareness. The whole aim of identity awareness is to authenticate user and also to see what users are doing what kind of activities. Now let's see how you can configure it. This is a checkpoint environment, and first of all uh, let me tell you the steps that you are required to perform this operation. So first of all, you are required to enable blade of identity awareness. Second, you are required to create a LDAP group. Third, you are required to create an access role. And finally, you are needed to create a rule to allow communication. So it also has 4 methods or 4 steps to accomplish this lab. Let's do it. So in first step, you are going to the firewall and enabling the identity awareness blade. Once you enable the identity awareness blade, you will see a wizard. In this wizard, you can select AD query and browser-based authentication, which is your captive portal. Then it asks you to connect with Active Directory. So you must have an Active Directory functioning properly, and then you are required to give its domain name, the administrator and password. It is not required administrator, but an account which should be able to analyze the data, the logs of the Active Directory server. And as you connect, you'll see a message successfully connected. It means the connection from your checkpoint firewall to your Active Directory server is done properly. In the next step, it asks you to create a browser, a rule for a browser-based authentication. And in the main URL section, I designated an IP address on which the username and password must be asked. And through the edit option, I can force uh, the firewall to accept this request from all interfaces. Now in second step, I'm going to create a LDAP group. You can see from from the slide how you can create it. LDAP group is going to uh, add the account unit, which directly responsible for my alpha.cp domain. Once you created LDAP group, you are required to go and create access role. Access role is an object which defines the direction and users from where the request is coming. So here in the network section, I mentioned alpha network, means the network from where I expect users to initiate communication. And then in user section, I'm going to define the LDAP group, the group of which Active Directory is a member. And that's all. Now finally, I am required to create a rule, a firewall rule. As you know, in the firewall rule, this is the access role that I created. These are the services that are allowed, and finally it should be accepted and logged. Okay, but there is an option here, enable identity captive portal. If you will not enable it, the captive portal will not be shown to the users who are not using client machines, Active Directory client machine for their communications. Now you can just install the policy and it's done. Now this is the captive portal because you are making this request from a machine which is not sending the logs to the Active Directory server. It can be a remote machine, a mobile machine, or it can be any machine which is not the member of the domain. And you will see this captive portal. You provide the username and password which is there in Active Directory, and as you click OK, you are allowed to go. And here you will be able to see the information about the log and the associated users. But if you make this communication from a machine which is the member of Active Directory, as you can see, marketing 3 is logging into a alpha domain and he's making communication to Google, and no username and password is required because Active Directory seamlessly provided it to the firewall. And this can be proven from this log. You can see marketing 3 is the user. I hope you understood the concept of identity awareness and how you can create the lab. Thank you for watching. Let's uh, let's let's meet in the next video. Thank you all.